Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over this upper receiver right here from Sharps Rifle Company, chambered in 2545. So the big question before we go forth is, what is 2545? It's a round that was designed by Sharps Rifle Company to essentially mimic the 250 Savage ballistics, but out of an AR-15. So that was somewhat of a lofty goal, and actually out of the 20-inch barrel versions, they come very, very close to doing so. This one here is going to be a 16-inch barrel version. We have a few different types of rounds that they make, different loads, if you will, of 25-45, but it really doesn't require anything to change over your standard AR-15 with the exception of changing the barrel. So the bolt, the upper receiver, the lower receiver, the mags, all that stuff is the same, which is one big advantage for it. And another big advantage for it is that a lot of states out there won't allow you to hunt with a standard AR-15, 223 or 5.56 caliber bullets. They require something bigger than a 22. The 25 in most cases is going to fit that bill. So certainly a good round for hunting, perhaps for home defense as well. But what we're going to do is just do some more shooting with this upper receiver on an AR-15 standard lower receiver. Several of them I believe we used throughout the video. Do a accuracy test, then test some of the ballistics, if you will, in terms of velocity with a chronograph, and then go over some of the details and let you know what we think of it overall at the end.
Now we're going to see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this rig. We have the 87 grain soft point bullets here from Sharps in the rifle. On top we have a Vortex Crossfire 6x18 scope. Not good glass by any means, budget scope, but it's got plenty of magnification and it holds 0, which is really what we want for this kind of test. And sitting in an arrow mount, we have a target downrange 100 yards. Now one thing that we're going to have as a mitigating factor is that it's probably 110 out here today, and we're sitting on baked clay, so we got some serious mirage cooking. So it's going to be a real world accuracy test to show you what you can really get, as opposed to sort of an optimal accuracy test. But my guess is we're going to see something around the 2-inch range, just due to the soft point nature of the bullet, but you never know until you do it. So let's do it. Go check it out. Without measuring it, it looks like I was right about on my accuracy prediction, so not too bad at all. We're coming in just over 1.5 inches. If we had to err a little bit high, maybe 1 inch and 3/4, excuse me. So somewhere in between there. So again, I didn't expect match grade accuracy, but certainly acceptable accuracy. You know, I think a lot of folks are using this cartridge for deer, hogs, etc. And at the normal engagement distances, you're going to put them down with that kind of accuracy. We saw the accuracy test with the most common round. That's the 87 grain one that we saw here, but there are a couple different loads for this Sharps caliber here, the 25-45. So we also have the 70 grain Blitzkrieg that you see here. And then we also have a little bit heavier than the 87 grain, 100 grain. This one here is called the Swine Smasher. So obviously marketed towards hog hunters. Now, one thing I can tell you is that I actually took a hog with this 87 grain the other day out here. Not intentionally, it just happened to be here when I got to the range, so I took it down, and this did a good job with it. So the 100 grain probably going to do a little bit better. Either way, what I'm going to do now is just do some chronograph tests so you guys can take a look at these loads and see what kind of power, trajectory, and stuff like that you're going to expect from them. So right now we have the 87 grain. We're going to put a few through there. see those numbers there. Again, this is a 16-inch barrel. And next up, we will run the Blitzkrieg. This one should be a little bit hotter there, 70 grain. Sure enough, it was moving. And then the 100 grain Swine Smasher. I like that name. Entertaining. And a little slower, as you'd expect.
Taking a look here at the upper receiver, it's pretty standard stuff. We have a forged 7075 T6 aluminum upper receiver. It does have good anodizing all the way around. You can see we have our square forge mark that you're going to find on a lot of other AR-15 upper receivers out there. Of note, there is no T markings on there, so if you're one of the folks who uses T markings to mark where you're going to put your scope or something like that, you're going to have to put a piece of pencil, a line, or something like that on there, or a piece of tape. I know some folks use that as well. Of note, we do have the charging handle and forward assist that have the coating, the MP3 Plus coating that do come with it if you purchase the upper receiver as a group. It also comes with this little dust cover here, and one sort of downside of this, if I could say it, is going to be that we had a little bit of rust here on the dust cover. I don't know what that is or why that is. It's just of note. It is there. I'm sure I can take it off relatively easily, but this rifle was left out in my truck, so that way if I did come across a hog, which as you guys heard earlier, I could take it out, because where I shoot there are hogs out there, I should say. The owner has asked me to shoot them whenever I see them, so I just kind of left it in my truck as a truck gun. So it's been in 100 plus North Carolina summer heat for a long time and humidity. That was the only part that developed any rust at all of note, but it was there. Just a sort of a small side note. Moving on to the actual inside of it, we do have M4 feed ramps, and the barrel itself has M4 feed ramps as well. They line up nicely, so no issues there at all. Now we'll get into the bolt carrier group, which is one of the sort of heart and soul pieces to the rifle, as I talk about frequently in AR-15 reviews. This one's kind of cool. So I actually have a dedicated review of the actual Reliant bolt. When this came out, I thought it was a pretty cool idea and actually tested one out. This is actually the third one I have now. So I have bought two of them. We have this one as well that came with the carrier. This is the first time I've used it in conjunction with the actual Sharps Rifle Company carrier. But some basic features of it is that it's made from S7 tool steel. Now there's a huge debate out there whether or not that's an actual improvement over the standard mil spec 158 Carpenter, but if you actually read into it, it does seem to be a much stronger material. Another cool feature of that is that it has these sort of cutouts here on the lugs. So as many folks know, one of the first parts to go on an AR-15 bolt is going to be the lugs. They tend to shear off on high volume count rifles. So this apparently tends to decrease the shearing forces as it locks and unlocks going into your chamber. Additionally, it allows for more dirt and grime to be present, like a dirtier rifle, and still run and still lock in, because it sort of has that space in there. So first and foremost, one thing to point out, because I'm sure if I don't, lots of folks will in the comments section. When these first came out, they had a bad batch of them, had bad heat treating. So they had a few failures reported on them. They actually recalled those. I'm not sure if they recalled those, but they contacted the people who had purchased them, I should say, and offered to replace them. So both of mine have been replaced. I never had an issue with either of mine, but they did replace them. So that's certainly a good sign in terms of customer service. But they say they got the heat treat issue worked out. And again, this one's been going strong with no issues. So pretty cool all the way around. It is, of course, magnetic particle inspected, high pressure tested, and shot peened like most of the quality bolts out there. The big difference again is that S7 tool steel, as well as the lugs being a little bit different. And the entire bolt carrier group itself is NP3 plus coated. So NP3 is a very common finish out there for AR-15 parts. Some benefits of it are, of course, corrosion resistance as well as increased lubricity. The NP3 Plus has some additional stuff added to it that really aids in corrosion resistance. So you can see I'll roll on a chart. It shows just how well it does compared to some of the other finishes out there, but certainly pretty good stuff there. It does clean up pretty easily. I didn't actually clean this one. I literally just wiped it down. I'm pretty sure I could get that off if I used a little bit of CLP, but it does clean easily. And so far, been working just fine. The handguard on the rifle is a free-floated Diamond Head USA 13-inch handguard. Pretty simple design. It has these little holes here that you could screw in. It has, of course, relief cuts in it to lighten it, as well as aid in cooling. So you certainly can attach any sort of accessories you want to on there. They do offer a key mod option as well. That's not what this one is, but they do offer it. So for those of you guys looking for a direct attach type of system, it is out there and it is key mod, but you can add the little 1913 panels here and attach stuff wherever you want. Of course, it's at the full length top 1913 rail. So if you wanted to add a laser, a front sight, whatever you want, you can do that. They offer quite a few different barrel lengths and profiles. All of them are going to be 416R stainless steel, including this one. This one is the M4 profile, which in general, I'm not a huge M4 profile fan. However, I am a fan of relatively lightweight barrels. And this one there was the lightest one that they offered. Most of them are going to be sort of a heavier barrel because I know the rifle for a lot of folks is going to be used for hunting. So that's sort of how they market it and what they offer. Lots of different heavy barrel profiles, basically from 60. I think they actually have a 14.5-inch to 20-inch. And one thing to note is that the actual ammunition itself is designed so that way it fully burns all the powder and gets the maximum velocity at 20 inches. So they don't offer anything longer than that because you're not going to gain anything with it. So all the way out to 20 inches, all 416R. Out here on the muzzle, we do have a standard A2 birdcage. Of note, though, the thread pattern on there is actually a standard AR-10 pattern, so 5/8. The beauty of that is that any of your 30 caliber suppressors that you want to run on there, you can run on there just fine because most of those are going to have the standard 5/8 thread pitch, so no issues finding any suppressor mounts or anything like that. As you guys saw in the chronograph test, they do have 3 different types of ammo that they produce from the factory. So with the 87 grain being the most popular, they offer it in new as well as remanufactured cartridges. So those are the ones we're using out there in the accuracy test. And of note, you guys purchase those over at the Sharps Rifle Company website. I believe as of right now, they're going for about 85 cents a round. So not terribly expensive for hunting rounds. So it save a little bit of money with that remanufactured ammo. Of note, they do also have reloading dies, bullets, brass, all that stuff for you reloaders out there who want to do that and save a little bit of money when you're actually purchasing or making, I should say, this ammo. So that's the soft point 87 grain. We have the Blitzkrieg bullet here with the green tip that we used in the test that was getting pretty good velocity out of that 16-inch barrel. And then, of course, we have the Swine Smasher. I really just like that name. I don't know why. It makes me smile every time I say it, but it's a 100-grain pill and still got plenty of energy out there. And I think most folks who are into hunting are probably going to use one of these too, unless you're using it for varmints or something like that. And you may want a little less penetration, a little more velocity, or maybe even for home defense. This might be a decent round as well. And of course, like we mentioned in the beginning of the video, all of these rounds are essentially a necked up 223 because what we have here is a standard 223 55 grain bullet. And you can see essentially how that works out there. Just a little bit bigger there on the neck. So that's why all the components are the same. It's why they all work together, and all you need to change the caliber is the barrel. Those are the details of the upper receiver, but in terms of performance, we had 0 issues in terms of reliability, none at all. We used tons of different magazines. We used all the different rounds that they offer, have had 0 feeding issues, 0 anything issues, extraction, ejection issues. It worked just fine, which is certainly a good thing. That's what I always look for. In terms of the actual round itself, what are you getting out of it? Well, for a little bit of an increased cost for sure over a standard 5.56, that's a little bit more difficult to find, right? Those are the downsides of it. The added benefits of it, of course, are that it's hunting legal, like we mentioned in the beginning, and you get a good bit more energy at close range. So anything basically 200 yards and in, you're going to get approximately 50% more velocity, or I shouldn't say velocity, about 50% more energy than you would out of a comparable weight AR-15 bullet. So you're definitely getting more energy at what would be typical hunting distances, particularly here on the East Coast, where we're not generally hunting out to 500 yards due to terrain and trees and things like that. So most folks, of course, are hunting 200 yards and in, and you are going to get increased energy downrange with it. There's no doubt about it if you're using this caliber. So, and of course, it being legal helps in a lot of states as well. So the entire upper receiver, I should say, that you guys see here with the reliable and all this stuff that comes with it, I think comes in at $6.99. There are different options you can add. You can add, again, like we talked about, different barrel profiles, different rails, stuff like that. But it's going to come in right around $6.99. If you want to just change over the barrel, I think there are pretty much all of them are going for right around $250. So it's a relatively easy change, and you can just use your standard AR-15 setup that you're doing. Swap the barrel out for hunting season, get out there, drop some deer, drop some hogs, whatever the case may be, if you choose to go that route. So that's what the price is on it. And overall, I know people are going to say, why get it? I don't know. You don't have to get it. If you don't want to get it, don't get it. But it does give you some different options that you don't get with an AR-15. And I think that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. But all in all, it's performed well, which to me, as you guys know, is really the most important thing. In terms of recoil, that's something I should mention. You get about 50% more energy going down range like we talked about. I'd say the recoil is about 50% more as well. So if I was going to use this as a dedicated rifle, I'd probably put an H or maybe even an H2 buffer in there just to slow it down a little bit and sort of mitigate that recoil. But it's certainly fine, and it's not bad at all. It's much less recoil than you're going to get from like an AR-10 or something like that, despite the fact that it's even lighter than an AR-10 would be. I think that pretty much covers it though, guys. If you have any questions, you can always post down below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video.